The Kansas City Chiefs are AFC West champions. It took a little longer than we're used to, but here we are, AFC West champions, as the Chiefs have beat the Cincinnati Fraudgulls 25-17 to win their 10th game of the season, lock in their spot as the 3 seed in the AFC, give themselves effectively a mini bye for next year or for next week, and get a hat and a t-shirt to celebrate what has been a very trying season, still resulting in a playoff spot, a home game at Arrowhead Stadium, and looking down at all the little brothers in the AFC West. I'm here with Matt Lane. Matthew, I know it's been a weird year. I know it's been an ugly game to watch even this year, but I want to congratulate you on being a fan of one of the AFC or the AFC West champions, my friend.
All right. Thank you. As we always know, the Cincinnati Bengals team is a bunch of frauds, and they thought they could march their way into Arrowhead and win a game with their backup quarterback, let him run around a little bit, kind of catch the Chiefs defense with their pants down for a little while. And it quite simply didn't matter because the Chiefs once again find a way to win the AFC West. They do so before the regular season is over, and now it'll be interesting to see, do they try to play their starters next week because everything is out of whack and not in rhythm, or do they take it off, let some guys get some rest because they don't really need to play next week? They are locked in. They are the 3 seed going forward. They don't know who they are going to play yet, but they have won the West. They are a playoff team. They are going to play a home playoff game in the first round of the NFL playoffs. Like, we're here. They got there. The game was dicey, but we got there, Kent.
Yeah, and let's get into that game. Obviously, kind of a weird one, as we are kind of accustomed to at this point. This team has just, it's been frustrating. It's been tough to watch for stretches. But the Chiefs actually kind of moved the ball decently. They get into Bengals territory with great consistency. Harrison Butker, I believe it was it 18 straight points that he scored in this game?
I don't know.
I really wanted him to get another field goal, so I could have started off the show with the Chiefs score 4 touchdowns and win 28-17. But here we are. It was. I don't know where do you want to start with this, Matthew? I know we try not to get too negative right off the top because the Chiefs won a game. They covered the spread. The defense played really well towards the end. The offense found some things to be excited about. They were able to hit the ball down the field a little bit more. I mean, what's the one thing that you want to start with here?
I mean, it's the Chiefs defense once again. So the Bengals came out and had a pretty good game plan, or the Chiefs had a really bad one. I'm not entirely sure which, right? Jake Browning was making throws, but more so he was running. The Chiefs' rush lane discipline was terrible. Anytime they did get into 3rd and long, Jake Browning seemed to find a little bit of space to scramble. Like, they gave up points on their first 3 drives. But then after that, they forced a punt, and a half, turnover on downs. That was the last time the Bengals really moved the football. Punt, downs. Like, the defense locked in once again after a slow start. Steve Spagnuolo gets back into kind of the adjustment drawer. He pulls it out. He starts hitting all the right buttons, starts pulling all the right levers. Like, that was good to see because we're kind of accustomed now to seeing this Chiefs defense start a little slow. Thing is, just against Jake Browning, you didn't think it was going to start this slow. This felt like a game where the defense was going to fall apart completely. That snowball started rolling. You didn't think they were going to get back on track, but then they did. And I think that's the big thing to take away. Even when it starts out really ugly and nothing's working, they still found a way to be a good defense for the vast majority of this game, even if, they let Jake Browning lead 3 straight scoring drives.
Well, they pitched a shutout for the last 36 minutes of that game. I mean, the Chiefs pitched a shutout the last 36 minutes of that game. And they don't look, here's the thing. Field goal to start the opening drive, and it's a 15-play, 8-minute plus drive, really long one. They give up the long touchdown play. They basically, we all know why. I mean, they were targeting one specific player on that one touchdown drive, and then the Chiefs kind of made some adjustments there. And then they got the short field. Those were the 3 scoring drives for the Bengals, and then the Chiefs shut them out for the next 36 minutes. So, I know that they got early, but I think that I thought the defense was outstanding for that last half of the game and made some big plays. And even though yes, they gave up the touchdown on the on the short field, but they even got that to 3rd and goal because Drew Tranquil made 2 incredible plays to get it to 3rd and goal there, right? So, yeah, I think, look, a lot of people we can get into a lot of this down the road with, some of the field goal decision making, but this is a defensive team, and like this is what this team's identity has been for most of this season. And it's obviously a stark difference to what we've experienced in the past. And it's been frustrating to watch, but I think they really hem some things in, for the back half of this game. And Jamar Chase, they keep really quiet, and they kind of kept the passing game relatively quiet for the most part too. Jamar Chase leads the Bengals 3 catches for 41 yards. They continue to do what they do with number 1 receivers.
Yeah, the Chiefs defense, they have a general plan of what they want to do, and it seems like they're a little hesitant to pull some of that stuff off to start the games. I think we saw it earlier in the year. They came out strong. Now it seems like Spags likes to play a little bit more read and react to start games, and it's making them start a little slower. I think that's a little bit of a warning sign because of the offense, but we'll get to that later on. But now what we've seen the past few weeks is, yeah, they might give up a couple scoring drives to start a game, but when it's time to flip that switch and really start to shut teams down, they do it as good as any other team in the NFL. They are constantly able to find that switch sometime at the end of the first quarter, start of the second, and they just kind of continue to keep pitching shutouts, keep shutting everybody down after that point. Now, is the Drake Browning-led Bengals with T. Higgins not playing the majority of the game, with Jamar Chase just coming off a shoulder injury really at full strength? No, right? It's fair to say that this Bengals offense wasn't the most dynamic, wasn't the best they are going to play. But once again, you just have another example of this defense seeing a challenge that they weren't, I don't want to say ready for, but something that was getting them to start the game. They kind of flipped that switch. They changed their mindset. They add a couple little wrinkles to the defense, and it really slows them down. And then these teams don't have an answer for it after that. It looked like it took a little while, but the pass rush really started getting home, whether it was the blitz, whether it was the 4-man rush in the second half of this game. Charles Omenihu was a monster. There's been some talk, about he hasn't played quite as much as we would have hoped. Maybe he's been good, but not quite as good as we had hoped. He was maybe the Chiefs' best player in this entire game. He was everywhere throughout the entire game for them. So it's just, it was nice to see all of this stuff come together. L'Jarius Sneed still playing great. Trent McDuffie playing great. They kind of figure it out once you get past those first opening drives.
Yeah, and I get frustrated with slow starts at times, especially because, it seems like the offense has had their struggles, throughout the season to try to match that, and things just kind of get, a little bit hairy from there. But I mean, the Chiefs defense gave up 6 points last week, and they threw a shutout for 36 minutes here. I'm glad you brought up Trent McDuffie. I thought he had a really good game. Watching him, bail and cut off that vertical route from Jamar Chase on that one play where, taking that away was just wildly impressive. That was one of the most impressive things I've seen from a defensive back. I know the ball didn't go there, but still just wildly impressive. You're right. I thought the 4-man rush kind of started to get home a little bit more. And that's something that the Chiefs are, going to need, in the playoffs, right? They're going to need to see some of these guys step up. And, Chris Jones is going to continue to get the attention he's gotten his entire career. But seeing some of these secondary pass rushers, like you talked about, Omenihu and George Karlaftis. George Karlaftis gets a sack and a half today. He has eclipsed 10 sacks on the season. He's at 10 and a half for the year now. What a second season for him. I thought Mike Dana had a pretty good game too. There's a lot of this is what they're going to have to do. This is what this defense is going to have to do. This is the kind of performance you're going to need to see from this team. You would hope that they don't start slow, and maybe there's a conversation about that over the next couple of weeks about maybe having to show it all a little bit. Show it a little bit quicker, right? Because you've got to solve some things instead of being so reactionary because of some of the stuff on the other side of the ball.
No, and I think that's a big thing, right? The Chiefs are going to have to be a more complimentary team this year than they have been in years past. We obviously know this is a defense-first team, and the defense is good enough to win games. The problem is in the NFL, it's really hard to win games with your defense and not your offense once you get to the playoffs. It gets really difficult to do that. So this team's going to have to be complimentary, which means the offense is going to have to hold up their end of this bargain. We're going to get into the offense in a little bit, but the defense also, I don't want to blame them because it's not their fault. But when they start as slow as they have been these past few weeks where they're giving up scores to start the game, that does make it that makes it kind of difficult for an offense that's already struggling, which in turn makes it difficult for the defense to get back on track. And it's amazing they've been able to do it. But when you get to the playoffs, the defense can't start as slow as they have been lately. They can't keep giving up points on their first 2-3 drives every week and then pitch a shutout afterwards. Because by that point, it might be too much. It might just be too much for this offense to overcome. And so part of the complementary football is the defense kind of has to start quick so the offense has some time to find their footing and get things going to allow it to funnel through the defense. It's nice to see they can play this way defensively, but I just think they need to start a little bit quicker. I do think that's going to be important. And hey, we're talking about it. So the biggest change that we see every week right now, teams go after Nick Bolton for a while to start a game. They have success. Nick Bolton comes off the field for a drive, and this is something they did last year and years past with Darius Harris and other guys. That's not new, but he comes off, and then when he goes back on, things change. Last year, the person coming off had been more Willie Gay than Nick Bolton. This year, it's been Nick Bolton, but when he comes back in, the Chiefs start to implement a lot of different scheme changes. So I would be really interested to hear what Spags, what Brendan Daly, what these guys are talking about when that happens, because this is the numerous weeks in a row where he's kind of been the target to start a game. It's allowed offenses to get points, and then once he comes back in, the adjustments have come in, the scheme has changed, and all of a sudden the defense looks great. So just how do they skip that step? How do they skip needing that drive week in and week out? Because besides that, they play great. Nick Bolton came back in and played wonderful after the drive he was off. He was really bad before that drive, and he was great after. So that adjustment just needs to happen earlier, I think, going forward. If they are going to win with the defense, that adjustment can't come on drive 3. It has to come pre-game. You can't spot a team 17 points with this Chiefs offense.
It was kind of weird to watch that whole thing with Nick because he was a step slow the entire opening.
A step is generous. I mean,
it was bad. It was real bad. And he was late to the flat. He was struggling in coverage. They were picking on him, actively picking on him, as teams have done. And then they took him off for the possession. Drew Tranquill comes in, makes 2 great plays that gets that possession to 3rd and goal. Things get a little interesting there in that situation. But here's the thing I liked. The Chiefs put their 2 best linebackers on the field when it mattered the most late in the game. So you saw Drew Tranquill and Nick Bolton on the field, which is what we've clamored for. It doesn't have to be an either-or situation. Just play them both. Just figure that out. It was Bolton and Tranquill on the last drive for the Bengals with the Chiefs up 22-17. They were making the conscious effort. For that.
Yeah, they haven't done it a lot, and we've been asking for it. And it's not a sit Bolton, it's a play Tranquill. They can play together, and they finally did it, which it was good to see.
I wonder if that's not something we're going to see a lot more in the playoffs. I just have a hard time believing the Chiefs don't know, because the trade-off for Bolton versus Tranquill is the logic would be the reason the Chiefs value Bolton in the dime, for instance, is they've always valued communication, alignment, assignment overall. That's why Ben Neiman has gotten a lot of run in Kansas City over some other more talented linebackers in the past. Well, by all indications, the Chiefs have sung the praises of Drew Tranquill's ability to pick things up, ability to communicate, understanding of the defense, blah, 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 to the point where, Spagnuolo talked about, hey, it's not, it wasn't a drop off when Drew was on. So if that's the case, get both of them on the field. Because Drew Tranquill has been the best linebacker for this team for this season. And it's not just the alignment, assignment, communication part of it. He's made plays. He's been in the right position. He has more athleticism to be able to challenge things in the passing game. Don't let him leave the field, but don't let Bolton leave the field either. There is a way to make this work. And I think the Chiefs are going to try to make this work in the playoffs. I think it's maybe something kind of hey, look, we didn't show Chris Jones moving around against the Bengals offensive line in the regular season. This is something we will come back to. I think one of the hopes I have for the postseason is that there are things that I know this team has struggled on the offensive side of the ball specifically, but they've held on to things that they are going to use for the postseason because while the struggles exist in the regular season, this team still has things in the bag, both sides of the ball, that they're going to be able to lean on, that they're be able to go to when it matters the most in these games. And they're going to have to play 3 of them because they are not going to be the bye week this year.
Yeah. Offense time.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
And we'll get into the offense right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Appreciate everybody hanging out with us as the Chiefs have won the AFC West yet again, 8 straight seasons. I believe they now have the most AFC West championships in the history of the National Football League. Feels great. And little brother can still go cry and weep.
Oh, yeah, because everybody was tied, right? Everybody but the Chargers were tied, right? Nice.
So Denver can cope. Chargers fan can cope. Raiders, I know you just beat the Chiefs last. Cope. I hope you all are enjoying Cabo next week. So, and Tucker D. Franklin mentions the Cincinnati Bengals have been eliminated back-to-back years in Arrowhead. Oh, I'm sorry. The Cincinnati Fraud Goals have been eliminated back-to-back years in Arrowhead. So, good to know.
Got to get the packs out.
It's a system quarterback too. I mean, I think that's what we've kind of learned about that quarterback rotation there, right? Just a system quarterback out there. Anyways, let's move on to the offense. I think that's what we've all been kind of chomping at the bit to talk about. We want to, I don't want to end. I refuse to end or to start this show negatively when the Chiefs win the AFC West and the defense shuts the Bengals out for 36 minutes. I refuse to go negative there's some things on the offensive side of the ball we need to talk about, right?
Well, yeah. Patrick Mahomes went 21 for 29. He barely threw the ball. And half of those were throwaways. Half of those incompletions were throwaways. He was not putting the ball anywhere in harm's way. There were so many times he cocked back to throw a ball without the receiver being wide open or without his feet, like his throwing mechanics being perfect. And he just ate it, or just like he would purposely just spike it in the dirt 5 yards short of a receiver. He was taking 0 chances. And for the first half of this game, it was costing them almost the game. He was playing too timid, and I don't think it was his fault. It kind of is, but I think he was just purposely going out of his way to not make a mistake, to not let the defense get the ball, to not throw an interception, to not put the ball in harm's way. And it wasn't until things looked kind of bleak for the offense that we saw them start to open it up. And then what'd they do? They threw the ball downfield a couple times, and every single time they did it, it was wide open because the Bengals are sitting there trying to play cover one, squat on everything, just letting receivers. I mean, just blatant disrespect at the NFL level to Patrick Mahomes. And finally, they just started ripping it. They just started throwing some downfield, and MVS dropped one, but they connected on 2 others. And those two plays, one deep one, buddy. They connect on 2, literally just 2 footballs, 2 completions changed the entirety of this game. Hitting Watson on his little sail type route, hitting Rice on the go. Those 2 plays changed the entire outlook of this game because the Fraud Goals were sitting there challenging the Chiefs to do it, daring them to do it. They finally did it. And look, it just took 2. It took 2 plays. It doesn't matter if you go 2 for 7. If you hit those 2 plays on those deep shots, it changes everything. And it did. And finally, this is the first time I think since week 2 or 3 or something where Mahomes has 2 passes that have gone over 20 plus air yards in the same game. It's insane.
Yeah, Mahomes hits a 67-yarder and a 41-yarder. And that's just massive for this team, right? Getting the ball into Bengals territory. Real quick, we are only 100 subs away from 20,000. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button while we're hanging out, that would be really fun to get this while we are here on air. I think some of the mentality changed a little bit after that sack, right? And I think after the sack fumble where they put the Bengals in favorable position to put the ball in the end zone, they eventually did it. I think that did change a little bit of stuff for Mahomes. Not that he wasn't there were some moments he was still throwing. I use the quote, the Matty Lane line, throwing with his chest. He had a really nice throw after that to Noah Gray in the middle of the field where that's where it started. He threw with some conviction, right? But there was some game management happening from Mahomes in this game. He was living in the flats again like he was the week prior, which is something to pay attention to, right? Because on these 3rd and short situations that they were seeing in the red zone, Mahomes found Pacheco in the flats back-to-back possessions. And it was situations that led to 4th and 4s. The Chiefs elect to kick both of them. I, for one, am very glad that they chose to kick both of them. I know some people, and there's some back and forth existing right now between, whether or not Andy should have been aggressive in some of these situations down in the red zone or just kick the field goal. I'm glad they kicked the field goal. And I think they're probably going to play on the conservative side a lot during the playoffs because this defense, again, played out of his mind. I think Andy was having that kind of vibe and that feeling that like this defense is playing well in this back end of this game. Let's just go ahead and manage this game a little bit and throw these plays in the flats. So it was weird to watch. It is kind of, I'm not going to say jarring, but it has been weird because I haven't got to talk about the Raiders game much, right? But it's weird to watch Mahomes flats as much as he has. It is definitely
insane. It's sad.
And yeah, there's a little bit of it's sad a little bit. I don't think that he's broken. I don't think it's going to change everything about Andy or about Patrick Mahomes in 2024 when this team inevitably fixes this massive, embarrassing, terrible, potentially season-ending decision to roll this group of pass catchers out. But it's been really jarring to watch him live in the flats the way he has the last two games. And the couple really rough, like I get why people were like, hey, go for it. But why? Why go for it? We have seen what this team is doing in the 3rd and 4s, in the 3rd and 5s, in the 3rd and 3s. And it's not good. And they're throwing short of the sticks and hoping Isaiah Pacheco makes some miss. And I love Isaiah Pacheco for what he is, but he's not a guy you dump the ball off in the flat and expect to win one-on-one consistently. He doesn't have elite change of direction skills to be able to make those plays more often than not. So it's jarring to watch that, but I'm ultimately glad they made the decisions because I don't trust this offense in the red when your identity becomes more prevalent. I'm okay with them not making, not being aggressive and just kicking field goals and ultimately kicking their way to a 8-point win, covering the spread, winning this game. They kicked their way to it, getting down into the red zone, kicking field goals, and then calling it good.
Yeah, and man, it's just frustrating for me to watch. There's more good to talk about in the offense, but like we're kind of already down this rabbit hole. So like we'll go here. Mahomes, according to Next Gen Stats, had the lowest aggression percentage of any quarterback so far this week. Now, that's throws into tight windows, and I think that goes to some of the game management as like he was not trying to throw the ball anywhere close to tight windows. He was the most conservative quarterback in terms of like throwing the ball where you were expected to get a completion in this game. That's rough. He's one of the lowest average intended air yards, despite having 2 passes travel 40-plus air yards in the air. He had 3 passes he threw were right around 40 air yards, and he still finished with an average intended air yards of 5.5. That's crazy. Like this team is living with the ball in the flats. They are living throwing short of the sticks and trying to make plays happen. But the issue is besides Rice, like especially with Kadarius Toney hurt, besides Rashee Rice, nobody's particularly good after the catch at making guys miss and picking up all the extra yardage. So it's just the offense is not broken. They clearly figured some stuff out. They pushed the ball downfield when they got favorable looks, but I don't know if they can continue to live with all these passes to the flats. You saw the Bengals were triggering on it. They came downhill. They made a couple nice tackles at the line of scrimmage on these little screen plays. They were driving on a lot of the little hitches. Like this offense can't function this way into the playoffs when they start to play good teams. Like it won't continue to work forever. And they are really struggling to try to find answers over and over again. It's the point right now we're seeing on these highlights. Mahomes was like calling designed rollouts when he was never going to throw it. He was terrified of having to throw the ball on some of these plays on 3rd or 4th and short. He planned on running it the entire time just because they don't have any good answers in the passing game right now. And it's just rough. It's just,
what? Craig Stout?
How are you? How's things going?
Man.
Welcome to 8 straight divisional titles. I couldn't let this go by.
Oh my goodness.
Just got in, came down, wanted to talk about the game, and wanted to talk about the fact that the Chiefs now have the 2nd longest streak of winning the division in NFL history with 8 straight. My goodness. It feels good to say that. Woo.
Craig is great.
I was legitimately surprised. I didn't see you pop into the green room. So I am so happy to see you, buddy. Happy New Year to you.
Hey, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, Maddie. I assume that we led with the defense here. I assume that
we did.
We gave Steve Spagnuolo all of his flowers. L'Jarius Sneed, all of his flowers. Charles Omenihu, his flowers. George Karlaftis, his flowers. Okay, good.
Trent Duffy.
You guys covered the bases. Jeremy Duffy.
We have touched on all of this. It's almost like they were playing the Jake Browning-led Fraud Goals.
Oh yeah,
hey,
they were, but
hey, the Frogles have got some teams in recent memory. I'm just gonna say it wasn't last week, but they got. I mean, they hung like 30 plus on 3 straight teams and won 3 games before that.
Sure.
Just saying.
Maddie and I talked about it during the week. That offense was a little bit saltier than they probably should have been with Jake Browning out there. But
quarterback.
A little bit of a question here: did T. Higgins play? Did Jamar Chase play?
Well,
that's right. It doesn't
Higgins...
matter if you've got a stud wide receiver because you're going up against the Chiefs secondary, and they are.
Higgins did get hurt, but like
Higgins did not play. Yeah,
Higgins came back in. He came back in. He drew a DPI. He came back in.
Hey, look, and we're trying to get to 20K before the night's over, so please feel free to try to hit that subscribe button because that would be kind of fun to get to 20,000 before the year ends.
Oh man,
especially that. But yeah, hey, Craig, you was ready for some Craig-alytics, Ken-alytics, Lab-alytics? The Chiefs held the Bengals scoreless for the last 36 minutes and 23 seconds of the football game.
That happens frequently with this defense. Okay, I like that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was it. I don't have a spreadsheet. I have some.
Didn't burn that one.
I don't either this week. I'm sorry. I don't have one for you this week.
I might have some splits I need to ask of you later. Like some stats.
Can you tell everybody on the podcast? Can you verbally explain what you're going to ask Craig for?
Take our DM conversation onto the podcast. Yeah.
No, we'll ask later. We'll save that one for the lab. Make sure you're listening to the lab.
Craig, we were talking offense. How much of this game did you get to see a whole lot of the game? I know you were.
Listen. Unfortunately, I was driving. I was in and out. Was listening to as much of it as I could. Got to see some of it. Got to see the big explosive vertical plays. Got to see MVS try and shoot this offense in the foot twice. So I hit the highlights for the week. Yeah.
Can I you mentioned MVS?
Sure.
I am so mad right now about the whole MVS.
Don't be mad.
Season.
The Chiefs won their 8th straight divisional title, Kent. Don't be mad, buddy.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Wesley Clausen, 2 things. Taking so many deep shots the second half gave me more hope than anything. Second, should they truly sit MVS? Okay, Wesley, one of the things I wrote about in the KCSN Substack, which you can subscribe to for $30 a year. It gets you access to all of the premium articles that Craig, Maddie, and I write. Joseph Hefner writes some great articles as well. You're getting all kinds of great stuff from Charles as well. But one of the things I talked about is they need to find something down the field. They needed to establish some kind of vertical passing game. And look, I think the Bengals were sitting in one high when they tried to, with the Rashee Rice situation, with that play. They're sitting in one high. And Rashee has a great release off the line of scrimmage, presses outside, watches the corner open his hips up so much to try to run, vertical down the sideline and just crosses his face and gets vertical. Fantastic route by Rashee Rice. That's massive. Because I think that's one of the things that this team needs to find, prove, and show to kind of just maybe loosen the lid up a little bit, for this offense. And I know MVS is terrible and should not be played anymore. And maybe should try carrying and maybe try not to show up the quarterback that has been so patient, so gracious to you, has not thrown you under the bus, has not shown any kind of verbal cue or visible cue to indicate that you are terrible at your job, has been very patient with this entire receiving room. If he catches that ball, that's another that's another play to show whoever they play in round 1 of the playoffs. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I went off a little bit. I
didn't realize that you guys hadn't talked about MVS already. I'm sorry for kickstarting that one.
Yeah, you dropped in at the wrong time.
You mean he MVS'd in?
Yes.
Hey.
Mahomes dropped. I got to pick him up real quick.
So, okay. So here's the thing. MVS plays because he's one of the 2 wide receivers on the team that like actively kind of knows the playbook, right? And like that's a problem because he can't run 90% of it, right? If it's not a straight line, MVS struggles to run that route. If it's a play designed for him to produce yards after the catch, it's hard for him to like be highly functioning on that play. But he does know it. You see him consistently lining other guys up pre-snap. And like, I know you don't want to have to play a guy specifically for that. But when you have like 4 other receivers who can't do that, can't line up, somebody has to be able to go out there and tell them where to line up. And it's kind of hard for Pat to tell Rashee Rice when he's lined up outside the numbers, if he's on the line of scrimmage or not on the line of scrimmage, or if he needs to come in motion. Like, so like there's a reason MVS plays. It's because not a lot of other people on this roster know even how to align, let alone the plays. He also, up until today, is kind of the only guy that went vertical. I mean, like, yeah, Justin Watson runs some of these corner routes, some of these like post routes or deep overs. Like in terms of, in terms of pure vertical routes, MVS is the only guy that they have do it. Hopefully Hardman coming back provides both those things. Somebody that should be familiar with this playbook, somebody that should be familiar with how to line up, somebody that can run some of these other things. But MVS does a lot of that. He's terrible at it. He's really bad. He's almost getting to the point to where he's too much of a net negative for it to be worth it at all.
What's
but
the positive?
Huh?
He blocked well against the Raiders.
Listen,
he blocks well every week.
Congrats.
Fair.
I'm glad that's working for the offense.
We're sitting here saying we don't like the fact that they just check the ball down to the flats over and over again. And MVS is one of the few guys that doesn't have to have the ball checked down the flat to function. Like, right. And not that
he just has to have the ball in his hands perfectly, or he's going to throw his quarterback under the bus.
Not this year that he's been any different, but like somebody has to be able to provide a downfield element. If it's going to be Rashee Rice like it was today, perfect. If it's Justin Watson like it was today, perfect. That's better. Then you start peeling MVS's snaps back. But until somebody else can do it, they have to play him. They have to play him because he blocks, he lines guys up, and he actually knows where he's supposed to run. Whether he does it well is a different story, but he knows where he's supposed to go. Too many other guys don't. I hope McCole Hardman makes him completely irrelevant. I hope McCole Hardman can come in and take up every single one of his snaps. But guess what? In this game, how many wide receivers do you think caught a pass, Kent?
I have the box score in front of me.
How many wide receivers do you think caught a pass?
1, 2, 3, 4.
4. How many of them caught more than one pass?
Rashee Rice.
Yeah. So on the field, you're replacing him with somebody that hasn't caught a football.
One catch, 3 yards, 3 targets for Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Now,
one excuse.
I do want to jump in
through
here.
the hands on a vertical route for Rashee Rice on the day.
Marquez Valdes-Scantling, if he had hands today, catches 2 touchdowns. Like he does. Like that vertical route, he's wide open. He creates separation over the top. That is terrifying for defensive coordinators. The other drop on his head. Hang on.
You've had your time.
What those 3 deep passes are 3 more deep passes that we've seen them since week 8 out of this offense. And frankly, I don't care that it went to MVS and it went through his hands. I like that they went back to Justin Watson. Yes. I like that they went back to Rashee Rice. This just put the rest of the defensive coordinators the Chiefs are going to have to play on notice. Yes, Travis Kelce is the engine. You drive on everything. You stop everything in the intermediate area of the field. Guess what? It's because the only guy they threw to was MVS and he dropped the ball. Continued to do that today. Going back to the well with Justin Watson, going with Rashee Rice puts enough on the defensive coordinator's plate to now he's looking at it and he's going, oh, hey, I don't like the fact that the Chiefs were able to get their offense going through explosive plays. So now maybe I need to stay in too high. And if you stay in too high, you know who has success? Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelce, arguably the 2 non-Rashee Rice best weapons on, not arguably with Travis Kelce, but with Isaiah Pacheco. Great weapons on this team that you need to step up. You got to loosen things up for them, because if you don't loosen things up for them, the rest of the offense isn't going to work. And that's what we've seen the past several weeks. I know that MVS dropped that one, but my goodness, he was open. He was wide open. And the fact that they went back to the well twice more is going to make defensive coordinators pay attention to MVS, even though he's probably going to drop every pass.
They know probably about it.
We don't have to pretend that Justin Watson's not in the same boat. The man triple caught his deep pass too.
He did.
After misjumping his deep over that was very open and dropping that ball. So like, it's not like there's a big, huge gap between Watson and MVS. The problem is they have to play both of them. It's not that one or the other plays, it's that both of them play so much. But I know everyone's frustrated with MVS. Again, I cannot sit here and tell you that I would not be happier to see McCole Hardman take his snaps.
1,000%.
Until that happens, MVS has to play because they have nobody else to play, nobody else that does what he does. And like, that's sad. They don't have somebody else. They don't have someone to go out there and drop 3 passes, but that can also block and tell guys where to line up. They have guys that can drop the passes. They just can't line up or block. Like he does. Well, like, they need it. It's sad, but they need it.
They had this team, like, not lost in all this, because I think everybody knows. They had the same problems that they've had. They had a turnover, a key turnover. They had drops. They weren't getting lined up correctly all the time still. They were about to have an illegal formation before a false start bailed out the receivers for not being able to line up because they had a guy that was about to motion lined up on the ball and a tight end off the ball. Like there was a lot of little errors, little mental errors that this skill group, if we want to go into special teams, we have Richie James catching a ball in the end zone and returning a punt. Like we have all kinds of just, a comedy of errors occurring. So yeah, I mean, like all the issues that have been there with the Chiefs are still there. They definitely started. I think the play calling was better this week, largely. I think the play calling was actually. I think it did some good things.
They were getting 3 more vertical shots than last week.
Well, I mean, it was the vertical shots. It was
they get to the red zone. They put Justin Ross out there to run a fade that they turned down immediately, and then run like all hitches into the short side of the field out of 4x1. So there's 6 defenders on the short side of the field, and they're surprised no one's open because they turned down a 1-on-1 fade route. Like that's not good play calling. That's terrible play design if you're not going to throw it.
I'm not saying it was perfect. I think I like that they went under center more. I like that they ran downhill more. The downhill run game was better. Yeah. They built some play action off of it. I actually thought the play calling did some good things and got the right guys featured for stretches of the game. Now, Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce disappeared for stretches of it too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Travis Kelce 3 catches, 16 yards. And I mean, I love Travis Kelce, so I'm not gonna like if I'm critiquing him, he's 34, and so it's kind of showing up a little bit at times here. But like Rashee Rice, if he doesn't have the 67-yard catch, he still leads the Chiefs in receiving for this game, and like it was a very quiet first half of it for him, but they brought him on late, and I mean, he's the guy that kind of changed that game and kind of gave them some opportunities in the red zone that ultimately led to some of those field goals. Like he was awesome again, and he's only like 69 yards short of 1,000 yards, which he's probably not going to get it next week because I don't know if the Chiefs are going to play their starters enough for him to do that or at all. But I mean,
I what is he can get 67 on 1 catch? So.
Throw another vertical shot at the man. That's all we're saying.
I agree. The play calling, the overall play calling was better. They ran the good run plays, aka they didn't just run shotgun inside zone over and over again. They did the same side stuff. They ran single back power. Like they mixed it up. They ran more stuff, and Isaiah Pacheco ran very well. This is one of the games where against light boxes, the Chiefs were getting chunk plays on the ground routinely, and that is something they are probably going to need to do this year because they don't have the passing game that's going to really eat into light boxes and scare anybody. So like it was really nice to see that they fixed the run game. Coming off the run game, they also pushed the ball vertical. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little worried about the under center play action game because the fraud goals were blowing it up every single time with the same play.
Yeah.
The same play every single time. And like the Chiefs kept trying to push the ball downfield in that. That's how they've tried to push the ball downfield all year, even though it hasn't worked. They couldn't even get a throw off because they just couldn't have answers. Like we'll see where that goes. But like overall, the play calling was a little better. The passing game though is still rough. Like the passing game is still really rough to me. A lot of stuff that involves the ball coming out really quick, well short of the sticks. And I get why they're doing it, but man, I don't know if you're going to win too many playoff games that way. So like that's the nervous part going forward. Hopefully the running game continues to pull this along. Like, I think we got this as a super chat coming in here too from Primetime Rambo. The running back depth looking a little weak without Clyde playing. Isaiah Pacheco is the only running back that carried the ball. Like, they might need somebody else. I mean, obviously you expect Clyde to be back, but like, it's a 2 running back room right now. There's only 2 guys out there. Pacheco, the way he runs, you really wouldn't give him 25 touches every single game and expect him not to get hurt.
He came back from a concussion in a week when we've seen a lot of other players coming back in 2 weeks. So like, that's a little bit nerve-wracking as well.
165 total yards on the day.
He was awesome.
Yeah,
he was incredible. Awesome. They don't win this game without him.
Yeah.
He was great.
Crazy.
Yeah. And we don't do anything without Tucker Franklin. And Tucker Franklin's going to come hang out with us here. Hi, Tuck.
Hi, Tucker.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Congratulations to your Missouri Tigers. I see you rocking that shirt, right? Is that?
Oh no, I forgot I was wearing this. Oh, I had this on. That's so weird.
I love it.
I see you working right there. Is that a Cotton Bowl shirt already? Oh, because you wrapped the Cotton Bowl.
I bought it at the stadium. I got swept up in the vibes. So just spent $50 on this t-shirt.
What you guys didn't see is Tucker put that on right before coming on camera.
Tucker, you've been teasing to me that you have a video that you need us to see.
Yeah, I got a video you need to see. This was actually tweeted out by NFL UK. Had tweeted this video out, and also then KC Sports Network then retweeted it out. I saw it. You know what? I'm just gonna play it. I'm just gonna play it for you guys.
They counted us out, told us we were done for. Another AFC West championship in the books. To be continued. And Jamar Chase. Try again.
Oh, a little shade at No Rings Jamar. To be fair, if Jamar had played, you know, maybe things would have been different. I don't know. Jamar, hey, look, those Bengals. Hey, look, you want to get rant going? Those Bengals are all talk, no rings. Still, like they just run their mouth for having accomplished nothing. One Chiefs offense meltdown in half a game of the AFC Championship game. Good Lord. You act like you've done something. You still have no rings. The Chiefs have 2. Patrick Mahomes has 2. L'Jarius Sneed and all pro. You know what? You know him now, Jamar? Or no? Just curious. Happy New Year. Enjoy Cabo in a week.
You know what? Listen, to Jamar Chase's credit,
No.
Brian Cook did not shut him down this week. As he said, Brian Cook is not going to come out there and shut me down. He did not. So he did call that one. The player that was on IR did not shut him down.
They had equal impact.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamar Chase wants us to be a rivalry. I mean, it is. Like, who am I kidding? Like, it is a rivalry.
Sure.
Like,
it's the only team I actively hate. Like, I love the Bills. I love Josh Allen. I love the Bills Mafia. Like, I love them. Bengals, all talk, no rings. I'll run my mouth. I mean, I've been doing it for a few years now.
Discount Cleveland.
Shout out Jamar Chase for keeping the heat for this game going, so that even a game between the Chiefs offense and Jake Browning was still the primetime game that everybody got to watch on CBS because Jamar Chase keeps the hype up. Like, that's what I want to see.
It's quite impressive.
Where are we going from here? What do we have next? Like, where are we at with this?
Before you guys actually talk about football stuff again, I'm looking at the KCSN Kansas City Chiefs coverage live subscriber counter right now. We're at 19,934.
Let's do it.
So we are getting really close. Hopefully everyone has a happy new year, having a good time, celebrating a Chiefs dub on the new year, on the New Year's Eve. Andrew wanted me to ask you what you're sipping on over there.
Well, this is a perfect transition to Toast Game. I am enjoying some Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond bourbon right now, as I always am when the Chiefs win a game. It is absolutely a fantastic sip. So if you have not tried it yet, this is the perfect time to do it, especially with New Year's coming up, a perfect thing to toast in the new year. And we're going to move on to Toast Game, celebrating with our Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond bourbon. Honestly, any selection of them too, like whatever you get, you're going to enjoy. It's absolutely fantastic. But let's get to Toast Game, and we're gonna start with the guy that watched all 60 minutes of that game, no doubt about it, Craig Stout.
Oh my goodness. If we're gonna start with me, George Karlaftis. I know he wasn't necessarily the best defensive player today. I know you guys have sung the praises of a lot of different dudes here, but George Karlaftis hitting double-digit sacks in his second year. It's absolutely fantastic what he has been able to do with this defense. He really has shown in a way that I don't think that anybody really expected him to shine. And he's now to the point where he's on the brink of 20 sacks in his rookie deal through 2 years. That is something that does not happen. He is well above the first round draft pick average at this point from a sack production standpoint. Like it's absolutely crazy that he's been able to come out there, put on the clinic that he did. Orlando Brown Jr. was struggling with that man at the end of the game. And we finally got to see what it looks like when this Chiefs defense gets to tee off in obvious passing situations. They rack up 4 sacks in one drive. That's what happens. So it's really good to see that he got to pin his ears back, got to tee off a little bit, and got to get above that double-digit sack mark. Absolutely incredible for George Karlaftis. Toast to him.
Love that one. That's actually where I was going. Matt Lane?
Okay. I was going to go with O'Menihue for a lot of the same reasons. I kind of thought he was one of the forces that kept the Chiefs defense kind of in the game to start. Karlaftis came on stronger at the end, but I thought O'Menihue throughout the entire game was really good. But since we already touched on it at the end, let's go with L'Jarius Sneed. Let's go ahead and give it to L'Jarius Sneed. Here's why. He lined up against Jamar Chase 21 times out of Jamar Chase's 34 routes.
Who?
He was targeted 3 times, gave up 2 receptions for only 27 yards, despite being in press 52% of the time. We call that shutting someone out. Maybe learn a player's name once in a while, Jamar. Maybe you should show up and play football against the team you're playing. Learn a name. You can throw all the hands you want in a scrum. You didn't do shit in this game. Head on say Cabo and enjoy your time off. Maybe take a Chiefs roster with you so you can figure out who's going to stop you from doing anything next year.
Touch sand next week.
Hey, next year, Jamar, when you're picking on another DB, you can say L'Jarius instead of Jalen Ramsey because they both have shut you out the same way, buddy.
All right, Tucker D. Franklin, what you got?
There's so many good performances in this game. One performance in particular is a guy by the name of Isaiah Pacheco. Had a really good performance according to Next Gen Stats. Gained a career high 50-plus rushing yards over expected, the most rushing yards over expected by a Chiefs running back in a game since week 17 of 2019. It was about is that 3 years ago? Are you telling me 2019 was 3 years ago? Sorry, I just had a really... well, anyway.
2019 was 4 years ago.
Check the math on that, buddy.
Wait a second.
It's the last day of 2023.
You literally got your driver's license then.
Sorry, it started as a toast to Isaiah Pacheco. Then I was blown away by the concept of time. Anyway,
to the concept of time.
to the concept of time. Pacheco had a majority of his production come against light boxes, 117 yards on 12 carries, plus 58 rushing yards over expected. Shout out to Isaiah Pacheco and to good health because he bounced back from that concussion. They changed the table. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter. They changed the table, not a folding table anymore, a real life table. Cheers.
Okay, so I would toast game to Rashee Rice if I was doing it for on the field. I do want to toast everybody that's ever listened to KC Sports Network. This is the last day of 2023. And I just want to tell you all, thank you all so much for supporting what we are doing here, for listening, watching, subscribing to the KCSN Substack, everything you've ever done to support KC Sports Network. It has been one of the coolest things. It's been the coolest thing to be part of this adventure with all the guys here on this, and also obviously BJ Kissel. It's been an absolute pleasure. And so we're here we're 5 hours from the new year. Maddie's 4 hours for some reason. I was in the Eastern time zone for 5 days and it stinks. I'm sorry. I don't understand how you live in the Eastern time zone. I could not do it. But I love everybody here that's on this right now, and we love all of you that have listened to us. So thank you all so much for supporting everything we're doing at KC Sports Network. A big toast game to all of you. And also, honestly, the holiday, too, because they're incredible as well. That is going to do it for the KCSN postgame show, the last one of 2023. 2024 is going to rule, and we can't wait. And hopefully, it's the Chiefs Super Bowl. Who knows? Weird things have happened. That's going to do it for this show. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll catch you later.
MID.